Hey guys, I just wanted to take a second to ask that if you gain any valuable insight from this episode, that you please share and leave a review. We truly appreciate all the support and would love your help to spread the word. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back to the Jeff Fenster Show for another segment of Lessons Learned, where we're going to recap the top 8 takeaways from Kent Clothier on the mindset of a CEO. Number 1, getting in the ring.
If you were going to become a great MMA fighter and you knew like that in order for that to happen, one thing is for sure got to happen. I have to get in the ring and I have to get hit and I have to be prepared to get knocked out, choked out, bruised, bumped, bloody, all that stuff. That just kind of comes with the territory. It is a complete expectation. And in doing that, I am perfectly prepared to learn the lessons by getting hit, right? And I think, unfortunately, what a lot of people do is they try to avoid pushing it a little too far because they don't want to get hit. And the reality, those are the best lessons in life, man. When you'll figure stuff out real quick when you get hit. And the only way to know that is to get in the ring and to play completely full out all the time, maximum effort, and then and with a logical understanding that if I go this hard, this fast, then I'm probably going to run into a few walls.
Sure.
But that's okay, right?
Number 2, you can count on your competition's mediocrity.
I mean, you can count on your competition's mediocrity.
Correct.
The vast majority of people are not cut out to be great. And it's unfortunate, and because I believe everybody's got it in them, but they don't have an understanding of just how hard you've got to be willing to get hit. And they don't understand that, I was telling somebody the other day that, in all my years in business, I've definitely figured out that you have to figure out what level of pain, what level of trauma you're willing to fall in love with. Because if you don't love the pain and you don't love the trauma and you don't love the getting knocked around, then you will stop. And so I think that was, again, that was probably the most valuable thing that happened to me. It needed to happen to me. I was not mature enough, although I believed I was, because I'd achieved a massive success most would never achieve in their entire lives. The reality of it was I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be the guy I needed to be. And I needed to get humbled and knocked down and build it all back up in order to become that evolution was necessary for me.
And I'll be honest, I never knew that Kent. The Kent I've known for the last 11 and a half years is one of the most successful, humble human beings I know. To me, it's one of your superpowers is that, I've been to your house in La Jolla. It's one of the most gorgeous houses you can be at. I mean, your view is something that should be in a hotel.
Right.
Your businesses are all extremely successful. You have the track record and the back of the baseball card to walk with that air of superiority and believe it. The fact that you don't and you are as humble as you've been since the day I met you shows, that you've had that transformation.
Yeah,
and I don't know the early Kent. Maybe it'd be a different experience.
Oh, no, there's no doubt.
No
problem telling you.
Maybe we wouldn't be friends today.
That guy was not somebody you would necessarily. That guy's still in there, but that guy was just, again, he was a kid.
But that guy now is probably the one pushing the levers of confidence,
100%.
Courage, knowing in the back of your mind that, hey, I have a formula. I will be successful regardless of how many times I get punched.
Right, that's exactly right.
And that's the key.
That's it.
Is yes, you're going to get punched. Yes, it's going to hurt. Yes, I have a high threshold for pain. But at the end, I'll still be standing and I'll find a way.
Yeah.
I'll make a way.
Yeah.
And that's how you can lose a $1 billion a company that's worth $1.9 billion and lose hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yep.
And rebuild it all in such a short period of time. Number 3, refusing to play the victim.
I knew I was in a really bad spot mentally and hurting. And somewhere, and I wasn't relying on faith, I've never been a particularly hardcore religious guy, although I do have faith. So it wasn't like I was going to church. I wasn't getting counseling. It wasn't anything like that. It was really just more about refusing to play the victim. And I just decided, every single day that I was going to try to move a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. And then one night, late night infomercial, talking about how you can go flip houses. Literally, I guess when you look back, it probably saved my life because I was just desperate enough to go check it out and went down to an Embassy Suites in West Palm Beach, Florida. I'll never forget it. And, they were talking about flipping houses with no money and no credit, which was perfect because I didn't have either. And I had made every bad financial decision for the last 2 years. So I didn't really trust myself. Mm-hmm. And, they're asking for $1,000 for this program. And I was terrified to do that. Put it on a credit card, debit card at that, because I didn't even have any credit cards anymore. But, desperate times call for desperate measures. I was just desperate enough to actually take action.
Number 4, do you own a business or a job?
I've figured out really quickly that I did not own a business. I owned a job. And it's real simple to figure out if you own a business or a job. Just don't show up. And if the cash register stops, if the bank account's going the other direction, then you own a job because you must do something in order to get paid. When you own a business, whether you show up or not, you get to do things. You don't have to do things. So I definitely owned a job. And I was making a lot of money, but it was all hinged on me. And I was like, I'm not.
It's a grind, 91 deals in a year.
I'm not. This is not what I want to be doing. And so I'm going to put all the systems and processes and leverage and people in place. And so I started doing that. And kind of a light bulb went off. In the grocery industry, one of the things I had done was a concept called reverse wholesaling, which had basically taken us from 800 million to 1.8 billion in 30 months. And as crazy as this sounds, right? This was what this novel concept was. How about we go to all of our customers and ask them, if I could sell you anything at any price, delivered in any city on any day, what do you want to buy from me? And then work backwards, right? Do it in reverse. And so I was like, I wonder if that would work in real estate. How about I go find who all the best buyers are? Who's paying cash in the markets? And so I was down in South Florida and went and I basically figured out a way that I could go down to the county clerk's office, look at all the transactions that happened the week before. You can do all this online now. You couldn't do it online back then. But I would go and look at, okay, every time a piece of real estate is sold, there's a deed of transfer. So the deed changes hands. If they used a mortgage or a bank, then a lien is recorded at the same time. So if a deed is recorded, but there is no lien, there's only one way they bought that. That was cash. So process of elimination, I started figuring out who was all paying cash, started contacting them and said, if I could sell you anything in any neighborhood at any price, what do you want to buy? You're buying investment properties. Mm-hmm. How about I just start selling you stuff? And so to your point, is that I started working it backwards. And so every deal I was putting under contract, I already knew who I was selling it to. And so a business that was doing, the better part of 60 or 70 houses a year, suddenly we blew it up doing 300 to 500 and started approaching a hustle back then and then turned it into a really, really big business. And that's ultimately kind of what put me on the map. And then people started paying attention to what I was doing because I was one of the guys that kind of took a business mentality and applied it to an entrepreneur's hustle and turned it into a business.
Number 5, from hustler to CEO.
We've all heard, what gets you here won't get you there. Well, I will take it one step further. When you're moving from hustler to CEO, what got you here, not only will it not get you there, it will prevent you from getting there because that hustler mentality is constantly, it's what we've been rewarded for. Mm-hmm. My efforts created this. And then suddenly you're trying to turn your brain off to where your brain naturally wants to jump in and do it. No, everybody get out of the way. I'll do the sales. I'll do this. I'll do that. Nobody's going to do this. And the reality of it is that as long as that hustler side of your brain has a seat at the table, you will never be a CEO. And you will never put the processes and the systems and the leverage and the team in place that ultimately will create financial freedom for you. And so you have to really embrace that and it will go directly against every instinct you've got. It is brutal, but when you get through it, it's how it's done.
And I can attest from personal experience. I was a hustler when we met. Over the last 11 years, I have worked hard to become a CEO in my own career.
Become the ultimate, brother.
And I'll be honest, it is not easy.
No.
And it took a community and a group of my teammates to basically force me to do it because to let go.
Yeah.
When you know and you see something and you see the car about to hit a wall or a perceived wall, to not grab the reins.
That's right.
It's tough.
It is tough. And it's But it's tough to understand that it is still progress, right? That's what it is, because we as entrepreneurs live in a very binary environment, meaning when I win, we make money, or when I win, we achieve this. When I win, this is what we know what success is, right? It's black and white.
Yep.
And when you're when you're making that migration and that evolution, success is no longer measured that way. Success is measured in, are we getting closer to where the win can happen without me?
Yep.
And that's progress. And that is really challenging to understand, that it's still progress.
And it's sustainable progress.
It's predictable. I mean, if you think about what you really want in life when it comes to building a business, what most people are really after is, I want to know that I want security. I want to know that all my financial needs are taken care of. I want to be able to travel with my kids. I want to be able to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to, and not worry. And I want to know that generationally I've done something where I've created impact in the world, or I've taken care of multiple generations through my effort. I mean, that's what success really is. And none of that is possible. Zero of that is possible as long as you are constantly trading hours for dollars. And again, back to the litmus test. If you, I say this jokingly, but it is true. If you want to understand how vulnerable you really are, leave for 2 months and don't tell anybody. And if you come back and there is more money in your bank account than when you left, then you are on the right path. Anything less than that, you own a job and you've got work to do.
Hey everyone, just wanted to take a second to say how incredibly grateful we are for all of our listeners, and I want to hear from you. Your feedback is greatly appreciated, and it will only help us make this show better for you. So any questions you have, click the link in the show notes below and let us know. Now, back to the episode. Number 6, focusing on the opportunities, not the obstacles.
When you are focused on the opportunity, understanding what you're really trying to achieve, then the obstacles in getting there you'll get through them. But if all you're focused on all the reasons why you can't do it, nobody's going to care about the business as much as I am, or nobody's as good a salesman as I am, or nobody, cares about the details. Those are all the crutches we give ourselves to justify. And that word can't is the worst word I think anybody could possibly use, right? I tell my kids all the time, we do not say can't, we do not say cannot. If you want to be truthful, because there's no victims here, then just replace it. You don't want to. We choose not to.
Or choose not to.
Right?
Yep.
I can't do this, Dad. No, that's not true. I choose not to. It's not a priority.
So in my house, there's one 4-letter word that's not allowed in the house, and it's can't.
Yeah.
I would rather hear every other 4-letter word you can think of.
Well, it's just a cop-out.
It's a bullshit word.
Yeah. I mean, we are, you and I are great examples of, there's nothing special about either one of us, right? And we know thousands of other guys and girls just like us that outside of them being amazing human beings, they didn't come with any, special gifts or talents that all of a sudden just made them amazing at business. It's this willingness to push hard and not use words like can't and cannot. It's like, let me see if I can.
Mm-hmm. And I say this on stage all the time. I say this every time I'm on stage. I'm an ordinary guy who just figured out what extra stuff to do to get extraordinary results, and everyone else can do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just you got to learn what that formula is.
Yeah.
And we get caught up in all of the things that stand in the way that make us feel like I don't have resources. I don't have millions of dollars, so I can't. And you hear the word can't.
Yeah.
I don't have the relationship, so I can't.
Well, it's funny. I use this example with people all the time. And it's super morbid, but it is extremely helpful, because I think if anybody is listening to this, and if they just thought for a moment about the most special person in their life, the person they care about the most, and if somehow, some way, that person's life was on the line. In other words, Jeff, your family's life is on the line unless you can go and produce $500,000 in new sales, or go sell 100 new franchises in the next 30 days. You must get it done. Is there any question in your mind what would happen?
No.
And there never is, right? Anytime you put somebody in that kind of headspace, like, oh, no. Okay, so let's just be clear. Your whole argument where it's a lack of resources goes completely out the door. because you, by your own admission, that you would do whatever it takes, you would figure it out. Okay, so if that's true under those circumstances, it's true always, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So what it means is that if you have the ability to raise the stakes on yourself mentally to where you understand mentally, it is not about resources or a lack of, it is about resourcefulness. Because under the right circumstances, you get real resourceful real quick.
Yep.
And when the priorities were changed, the stakes were raised, you get real resourceful real quick. Resources, you would not sit around and say, well, I don't know what to do. That would never happen, right? You would do whatever it took. You move heaven and earth for the people we love.
Number 7, why people leave themselves an out.
And the reason why people won't go to Google or people why won't go to ChatGPT or won't go is because they're just not committed.
Right.
Right? It's much easier to say it's too hard. It's much easier to play the victim card. It's much easier to say, I'm not good enough or they're more
Well, discomfort is that block.
Yeah.
When you learn to embrace discomfort, when you learn to accept that a cold plunge or a hot sauna makes your body better. Running until you can't breathe makes your cardiovascular system better. Restricting eating bad food and eating things that maybe don't taste as good makes you have longer health. Saving money and not binging on the first thing you want gives you wealth. I mean, there's a thing about restriction and discomfort.
Yep.
And when you learn how to live in that, success is just right there for you.
Yeah.
On all things.
Yeah. Well, because, and again, I said this earlier, you can count on your competition's mediocrity. The reality of it is just as sure as you and I are sitting there, 99% of the people around us won't do. So think about how easy it is to be great, right? Think about how easy it is to be in the 1% because 99% can't even do the little things.
And they won't.
They
don't want to.
Right. And so being great is literally a decision to get in the game and do the little things that others just simply won't and be consistent. Don't stop.
Number 8, building your framework of values. Do you have a written down or do you know a set of core values that you live by or your family lives by?
Yeah, we have. I mean, our core values. We base it off of 4 questions, right? Why are we doing what we're doing, right? As a family, what do we stand for? What are the values we stand for? What do we stand against? And what do we believe in so passionately that we would be willing to die for it? And that has helped us to build a framework that keeps all of us, very in tune with what we stand for and what we are trying to accomplish as a company and as a family, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that, again, I think that's another great point is that something as simple as sitting down and answering those 4 questions is the genesis of core values, of principles, because again, most will never do that.
Yeah. And it's so simple.
Well, I'll give you another great one is that if I ask you today, we had 100 people in this room, you know it and I know it, that if I asked 100 people to clearly define for me what success looks like in their life, exactly where do they want to be in 3 years, it would be 100% couldn't tell me. Mm-hmm. And ironically, I could tell you probably 90% of them would answer the question with, well, I know what I don't want, right? And you wonder why, again, you and I both know that you get more of what you focus on when it's so readily available, the things you don't want in life, and you're thinking about those things and you're focused and they're so right at the tip of your tongue. Whether you like it or not, you're perpetuating that in your life. But yet something that's so simple as what do you actually want, most can't define. And, as I was driving over here today, I got in my car and the very first thing I did was, put the address in the GPS. If I'm going somewhere, I don't know where I'm supposed to be driving to. I clearly want turn-by-turn directions. I want to be successful in getting here on time. And people do this hundreds of millions of times a day, over and over and over again. If you and I are going to go grab groceries for our wives, for instance, and they ask us to pick up a few things, if you're like me, it's like, hey, can you send me a picture of what it is you want or text me what you want or whatever the case it is. What I certainly don't do is just go walk up a bunch of random aisles and grab a few things and come back and dump it on the counter and say, hey, is any of this stuff what you're looking for? And I certainly didn't just say, hey, I'm going to drive up here to Carlsbad and I'll just, I'll drive around until I see Everbowl on the outside of the building and hopefully I'll run into it, right?
Sure.
In either one of those cases, I would sound like an idiot. But people do it all the time with their life. And it's the most profound thing I think you can do in your life, in your business, is it's very natural in all these little things in our life that we start with a destination.
Mm-hmm.
And then we reverse engineer turn-by-turn directions to be successful. But we don't do it with our own lives. And if you just sit down and say, this is what I want, that's my destination, here's where I'm at, what are the turn-by-turn directions I need to get there?
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't know those directions, who are the resources, the people, the podcasts that I can listen to, the books I can read to help me navigate that safely? Something as simple as that, people won't do. It's wild.
It is wild. It's troubling.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole world of people that should be successful. And success is personal. Some people it's financial success. Some people it's health and wellness success. Some people it's relationships. Some people they want to write a book. And they don't write the first sentence because they don't know. They look at the entirety of what's in front of them. They go, I can't climb Mount Everest. You know how you climb Mount Everest? You take one step.
One step.
And you take the next step. And if you don't know which path to go, call someone who's done it.
And by the way, ain't nobody promised you that's going to be easy.
Oh, no.
But it's for sure that's the way it's done. It's one step at a time down a predefined path with somebody helping you. That is for sure the way it's done. But nobody's promising you it's going to be easy.
Thank you so much for listening to another segment of Lessons Learned. I hope you learned as much as I did from our special guest, Kent Clothier. Hey everyone. First, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And if you guys haven't heard about my new book, Relationship Bank Account, click the link in the show notes or search the title on Amazon. This book is packed with all my secrets to success in both relationships and life. Make sure to pick up a copy, and if the book helps you on your journey, let us know by leaving a review. I appreciate all of you and can't wait to see you on the next one.